points. Other areas still showing deep concern. California, which was one of the earliest states hit in the outbreak, says that it's carrying on testing, but it's only managed to test 120,000 people. That's not enough to get clear data in. This sentiment echoed by the governor of Illinois, who says basically it's wild, wild west out there. Everybody's competing. All the states are competing for testing kits, for ventilators, for masks. And this, he says, is a major problem in continuing to combat this pandemic, saying that without the proper data, it's quite impossible to be able to isolate trends or isolate where the pandemic is going. Once again, blaming the federal government for not doing enough to support the states, pointing out that the states are having to form alliances between themselves in a bid to counter the pandemic on a joint basis.
Okay, Mike Hanna with a wrap-up there from the U.S. and Washington, D.C. Mike, thank you. The number of people killed by the coronavirus in Canada has jumped by 20% to 258 in one day. More than 1,400 are infected. Canada's appealed to volunteers to support frontline healthcare workers and is offering full-time jobs to reservists. On Saturday, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, announced millions of medical masks would be arriving from China. Former Libyan Prime Minister Mahmoud Jibril has died from the virus. He had been quarantined in a Cairo hospital since being diagnosed late last month. Jibril led the anti-government protest that ousted longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. He was later appointed prime minister and headed the National Transitional Council. Iran is reporting another 151 deaths, but also a decrease in new infections for the fifth consecutive day. And another positive development, some Iranians are being allowed to go back to work next week. Zain Basravi has more from Tehran.
We've heard from health officials over the last few days and weeks that things can't go back to normal too soon. But the president, when he made this announcement, President Hassan Rouhani began by saying that all branches of government are on board with the plan that they have moving forward. So making it clear that the government is, according to him, speaking in one voice, despite the warnings of normalizing too quickly from health experts, saying that that could bring on a second wave here. President Hassan Rouhani did say that in terms of the details of what is considered low risk and high risk, those announcements will be made over state TV in the coming hours. But we can surmise that what they consider low risk is anything that doesn't compel too large of a crowd to form. People can work from home, they can open small businesses. Remember, this country is a place where the majority of businesses are small to medium. So really, those environments will begin to see life coming back, life returning to some kind of normal. He said that even though those shops and other organizations may begin to start their engines again, they have to observe health protocols, social distancing. That still has to be the key element of how to go about doing this. It's always been a balance between fighting a public health crisis and making sure the country's economy does not go bust. He also acknowledged that Iran and Iranian people are still operating in unknown territory. They don't know whether or not this will continue for a long period of time, whether the country will become a kind of reservoir for the virus. So he said things will be taken one step at a time. But we have to remember that the country's main concern all along has been that the virus might do what sanctions could not, which is bring the country's economy to a standstill. And that's really what they're trying to fight against at this time.
Coming up after weather.
We have brought home more than 350,000 Europeans.
Some tourists stranded around the world are finally back home. Another 250,000 that were still looking for a way back. Plus, Tommy the robot, one of the many high-tech machines now being used to protect medical staff in the battle against coronavirus.
Hello, the weather's set fair across a good part of the Middle East. That's certainly the case across the Arabian Peninsula. Hot sunshine, Doha, getting up to 34 Celsius over the next couple of days. Further north, it's not too bad here as well. 34 in Baghdad, we could touch 24 in Damascus. Still a few showers there, just around Turkey, pushing over towards the Caspian Sea. Some wetter weather there for a time. Also into Afghanistan. That's all making its way further eastwards, so we'll see some rain creeping its way towards the north of Iran. Across the Arabian Peninsula, the sunshine continues. 33 Celsius for Doha, could touch 40 in Mecca as the heat slowly but surely continues to arise. On the warm side too, on the other side of the Red Sea, a 41 there for Khartoum. Showers there into the heart of Africa as per usual, into the Gulf of Guinea. We've got some rather lively showers just around Ghana, pushing towards Liberia, maybe into Sierra Leone as well, at least for a time. See some of those showers also gathering into the Democratic Republic of Congo. 1 or 2 showers there, creeping their way a little further southwards. Other side of the Rift Valley, you'll see some wet weather there into Tanzania. For much of South Africa, it's fine and dry. We've got some rather brisk winds pushing through the Southern Cape. That's all making its way further eastwards.
Isolate, test, treat and trace.
Frank assessments.
Why is Italy struggling to cope with the number of coronavirus patients?
Failure to take early aggressive action really put them behind the curve.
Informed opinions.
It's going to be much more challenging in a place like Haiti where there's 1 ventilator for 1 million people.
In-depth analysis of the day's global headlines.
Has India done enough to nip the spread of coronavirus in the bud?
Inside Story on Aljazir.
Watching Al Jazeera, these are the top stories right now. The UK's health secretary says he will not ban public exercise for now, despite the fact people are going outside to enjoy the warmer weather, ignoring the government's advice to stay indoors. The coronavirus figures show another 621 people have died in the last 24 hours. That is about 80 fewer fatalities than the day before. The number of new coronavirus-related deaths in Spain has fallen for the 3rd day in a row. Authorities reported 674 deaths on Sunday compared to 809 a day earlier. New York State has reported nearly 600 new deaths and over 8,000 new infections in the last 24 hours, but new hospitalizations have fallen by 50%. Still, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Americans to prepare for the toughest week yet of the coronavirus pandemic. 250,000 European Union citizens are expected to be flown home soon in a large-scale repatriation effort by their governments. 250,000 others, mostly tourists, have already been airlifted from all over the world by chartered airliners and military aircraft. Charlotte Bellos reports.
It could be a hospital reception, but it's Bolivia's El Alto airport. The country's airspace is closed, part of measures to contain